there will be no real non-controlled currency in the world.
We're coming for you, banks.
Increasing the block size to 32 megabytes right now. What would be the top 5 arguments that would get hurled against me?
Oh, that's a good one.
There are a few that the big blockers got right.
Ching, like all these coins splash into the wallets of all the winners. I love that.
There's a new threat out there. It's crypto.
All right. Hello and welcome back to the Bitcoin Cash podcast, following Bitcoin Cash on its rise to global reserve currency. This is episode number 120. Phoenix Mining and Polkadot paid propaganda featuring Paul. Today is Sunday, the 7th of July, 2024. A quick plea from me. We still need 7 BCH on our Flipstarter. So it's 2/3 completed. We've got 22 BCH roughly. We need to hit 29. So you can go to BCH Podcast, Flipstarter.cash, BCH Podcast, Flipstarter.cash if you want to chip in a few sats. Keep the show running. Right, our guest today is a crypto YouTuber and a BLISS attendee. I was very glad to meet him at BLISS. Welcome to the show, Paul. How did you get into Bitcoin?
Thank you, Jeremy. First of all, thank you also for inviting me to this show. I got into Bitcoin late 2016. Now there was a company who was selling your minutes back to money, or there was even a possibility to Bitcoin at one stage. So what you did not use, you could get back out of your bill. So I thought, now let's try Bitcoin. And so I got involved into Bitcoin in 2016. Later in 2017, I did my first real purchase, and that was into to Ripple, and then into Ethereum. And so I got involved in Bitcoin too, into the space, and I had to split with Bitcoin Cash I experienced. So I'm now for almost 8 years in the space, and the last bull run, I owned Bitcoin Cash too. It was like 10% of my portfolio, and I was looking which performed better, if it was Bitcoin Cash or Byte. And Bitcoin Cash, in the end, they had kind of the same run, was lots better. And I see Bitcoin Cash as the real Bitcoin. And in this bull run, I also want to. For the community, I want to mean something. I noticed that for Bitcoin Cash chain, there are not so many instruction videos. How do things work? And I want to be part of that to help the community and to help Bitcoin Cash grow.
Yeah, it's been amazing. I've been really glad to see your channel come up, and you've been posting actually pretty regularly. People don't realize until they kind of get into it. There's quite a lot involved, in making even a 15-minute video. It doesn't take 15 minutes. It probably takes 5 hours because you've got to edit it. You've got to upload it. You've got to promote it different places. You've got to plan what you're going to say. You've got to do like 2 takes or whatever. You have to see what the research is. You have to look at what the vibe is in the community. What could be the next thing? You need to make a thumbnail. You need to write a description. Like it just goes on and on and on. So I've been really quite impressed that you have picked up the baton and been pumping out videos. It's great to see. We've got a nice little community really forming in the chat now. We've got Ray from Ray Uses Bitcoin Cash as well too, and I saw you did a collaboration with him as well. So it's great to see everything starting to lock together, right? Because the more people are involved, the easier it gets as each new person is onboarded. There's already a bunch of venues for them to speak their mind, and get feedback, and we can all learn from each other as well. Too, everybody does things slightly differently, so it's just fantastic, and I'm really glad to see the content growing in the space.
Thank you very much, Jeremy. Yeah, I do make content in both English and also Spanish. That's also because I talk quite advanced Spanish for almost 20 years. And I know that a lot of Spanish and people from Latin America do understand a bit of English, but watching videos, it's like for English people watching Spanish videos, you understand a couple of words, but it is, you don't want to watch that all the time. So to listen to your own language is the best. And to also attract a broader audience. We got some really good channels from Argentina, Economia podcast, but also Nemesis 1000. But I also want to be part of the Spanish Bitcoin Cash content creators. Also, what you said about creating, yes, it takes some work. People do not realize it. The video editing, you started, you got, for example, Filmora software, but to also, to learn that and to cut it to sound effects, to put things all together. It is a challenge, but it's a really nice challenge. And you see you're getting better and better. If you now compare the first video, maybe you got a 2, Jeremy, to your last video, that's a really big difference. And then you can see what is the evolution of growing, as in making content. So that's also cool.
It's one of those things about anything in life is kind of like that, right? Where we always fall in a trap of we see the professionals, right? Like you go to the movies and you're watching a movie, even if you think, okay, this wasn't my favorite movie, it wasn't that great, it's still like a professional job with millions of dollars and sound and editing and pro script writers and everything like that. So even the worst movie you'll see at the cinema is still 10,000 times better than the first time a kid gets a camera and is like, I'm going to make my own home movie, and literally everything is like that. The music that we listen to on the radio, okay, there's some songs more or less that you don't like, but just the iceberg below that of people who are not at that level of quality and production, we just mostly don't see, and it's really enlightening for something like this. I've found as well too, that you think those channels that have millions of subscribers and all that stuff, like the amount of work going on behind the scenes is really, really easy to undervalue. I think on cryptocurrency, really as a whole too, maybe that's another thing. As the more you get involved, if you're involved in the community and you start seeing how all this stuff operates under the surface, you think there's plenty of people who, and there's probably many listening to this show who, it's like they've been shown a wallet, they sent a transaction once or twice, and then that's it. But the actual amount of infrastructure and stuff, the amount of coding, the amount of history is absolutely incredible. So it really helps to build an appreciation of that kind of stuff. And the only way to do it is to get more involved. So it's been great to see you and others doing that too. I think it's a bit of a trend, and I think community morale and engagement also is on the rise. What do you think?
Absolutely. With community morale, you mean the BCH community or in general, or
a bit of both, really. I mean, it's particularly BCH, but also crypto in general, I think, is starting to sort of win in the sense that it's far less likely on any given day that you run into somebody and they say, what do you do? And you talk to them about cryptocurrency, that they look at you like you're from another planet. They're now kind of interested and want to hear about it, I think.
It is true. Yeah, it depends still what age group you're talking to. Like the people above 50 plus, they're really less and they think it's all a scam still. While some people, the two biggest in market cap, they will invest in some part of. But absolutely, younger generation, I think now below 30, I think 40% do have some kind of cryptocurrency as part of their investment or trading portfolio.
Yeah, absolutely. And tell me a little bit about these dolphins. You've got this dolphins logo, which is on your YouTube channel, which people can find at RSPL 2024 or RSPL 382 on Twitter. What's the story here with the dolphins?
Now the dolphins, besides Bitcoin Cash, I am invested in a couple of other projects, but Bitcoin Cash is for me the most important one. And at the end of the year, I'm almost fully Bitcoin Cash. The dolphins were generated of the Harmony One bot. on Telegram, and that was just introduced it last year, and you could make some amazing images out of the Delhi. I think it was connected to the Delhi, and some others went just AI generating images, and this was one of them. Dolphin stands for also highly intelligent people, also free, and that you can also link to Bitcoin Cash, of course. We all a bit of libertarian people. And my username, probably I still have to change it, but it's my old address, and the YouTube name could not be the same. So probably I will change it, but Paul is not available at this stage for both Twitter and YouTube. That will be a bit difficult.
Yeah, and we met at BLISS as well too. It's funny, it's now almost like two months ago. Like, to me it feels like yesterday. It's like time has really flown since then. But I'm wondering if you had any kind of reflections on how it was being at BLISS and the event overall.
Now, the first moment I stepped into the building, I knew some people. I knew you from the Bitcoin Cash program. You did not know me. Ray, I knew also. I didn't know anyone, and I would go with a friend. He could not go, and I went by myself. I got into. I saw someone. I talked to him, and it was John Neary. And at that place, I had no idea how important he was for the Bitcoin Cash community. Just a name. It was just a person. We had a really nice chat, and after that, I discovered that really nice person. And I used BCH Pool already. Furthermore, it was a really good event. Besides social event, also a lot of things were highlighted, like Killian with the coin grace, Callum with the UTXX XO talk, and what Satoshi Nakamura with the
badges.
But the badges, I want to say the time lock thing.
Yes,
the time lock website,
badges.
the badges.cash, and what I notice is, besides of all the tech talk, we also socially it was a great event. People we did not know, we also went to. We did not know each other. We went also to the center of Ljubljana, where you guys at another event, and it was just really nice. We could talk actually for days with each other without quitting. That was my feeling, impression also. So really energized, and we all got in common that we want to help Bitcoin Cash grow, and for that it was a fantastic event.
You got the Jessica over there in the background, I can see as well too. That's pretty cool. It's amazing. I saw the photo of Sakib. He has a photo of him in his hospital in Cambodia with his Jessica and stuff. It's like, well, they're all around the world now. It's amazing to think of. All right, let's check in on the markets this week. Not such a great week for BCH, but not such a great week for crypto generally, I guess. $316.52 will buy you 100 megasats of BCH, which is way down. One BTC sat buys 179.4 BCH sats, so we're down there, and one ETH buys 936 megasats, so we're also down there. Not the best week for BCH on the markets, but you mentioned before that you had been trading in other coins. Maybe you still have a bit of a split portfolio or not. I don't know. Tell me about how you handle cryptocurrency in the markets.
At this stage of how I handle cryptocurrency in the markets, I do a bit of trading. I also did a bit of price videos on Bitcoin Cash. I am planning to do only one price video a week in both Spanish and English. So 2 videos actually say the same or a little bit different. At this stage, the market looks pretty weak. But always when the market looked pretty weak, we got a big rebound. So what anyone who got trading view, use Alt-I, and you can reverse the chart. And then look what happened like a couple of months earlier. And then think about it when we went to 700. And then you got actually the opposite. That is now also going to happen, but in a positive way. So probably we'll have a little bit more of downsides, also with the rumors of BTC more going down, and maybe also some news you're going to announce in a moment, Jeremy. But then there will be a really big rebound, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, let's crack on then with the main topics, the biggest news of this week, which I think is going to be interesting for some listeners will have been totally unaware this happened, which is actually quite telling in and of itself. But we had I don't know what to call it, an incident or a situation with Phoenix Mining. So obviously, BCH is only a fraction of BTC in terms of price, and therefore the mining activity is also distributed in that ratio because the miners just go for whatever is profitable. So for a long time, BCH has been in that smaller miner position, and it has a good spread of miners. But this week, very unexpectedly, we saw a new mining pool, Phoenix, who came into the BCH ecosystem to mine, even though there was no change in the price, which is, it would not be unusual for new miners to appear or leave if the price was going up or down. But this is really quite unusual that they came in even without the price changing, which meant that they were mining at a loss. They were happy, apparently, to do this at less money, less reward than they could have got by splitting their hash rate. And they also went in really hard. BCH had about 4 exahashes of mining power, while BCH has about 690 something. So they allocated enough to take BCH from 4 exahashes to 10 exahashes, which might have been, I believe, probably most of their hash rate that this pool had. According to their own website, they only have 8 exahashes, so they put at least 6 of it onto BCH, and therefore started mining almost every block. They were mining more than 90% of the blocks for about a day and a half, while the hash rate skyrocketed. So the blocks came in really fast for a while, and then the difficulty adjustment algorithm adapted to that and slowed down. But they didn't do anything malicious. There was no evidence of them making any attack, doing any 51% attacks, trying to censor any transactions or do any other kind of shenanigans. They just came in with this huge amount of hash rate. And then after about a day or so, they backed it off and they stopped mining, seemingly, and just withdrew all of that hash rate and vanished off the chain again. And so then we had a day or a bit more of slow blocks as the difficulty adjustment algorithm worked things back down to close to the hash rate that it was at before. And since then, it's been all quiet on the mining front. So the community was very calm about this, which was great to see, because there was certainly the opportunity for people to be panicking and, are we being attacked, and is this going to be a problem? But in the end, as far as I'm aware, there was no transactions disrupted. There was no interruption to network service. And the vast majority of BCH users who were not following, or all of them who were not following sort of social media and what's happening, should have been unaware that this happened at all. The only possible impact would be if people were transacting to and from exchanges and they either got a bunch of fast blocks to get there really quickly or slow blocks, and it took them a while. But otherwise, I believe everything was completely undisrupted, rather ironically. So this is both a very significant event and also a non-event, because absolutely nothing happened at all. What did you make of this mining incident? Were you paying attention as the blocks were getting faster and slower, or did you even notice at all that it was happening, Paul?
I saw your thread earlier this week about this, Jeremiah, where you also did a full analysis about what happened, and this is also a good summary of the things what happened this week. Now, one thing we see that some anonymous party want to have a lot of BCH in a short time if they collected 90% of the of the blocks and receive the BCH. And that the what you say that there was no 51% attack, no malicious attack, that is also really good. And the community kept quite calm. What you say. So the thing also to mention, there's more attention to BCH also when it happens. Also BTC maxis are also going to look for what is happening. Why is anonymous mining now making the BCH hash rate so big? So it's only positive for BCH as I can see it.
Yeah, that was a very strange element of what happened. We're yet to hear any sort of statement or update from Phoenix Mining themselves as to what all this is about, and they might never tell us. Who knows? But they must have had a reason. It seems that they mined 492 BCH, which is currently worth about 160,000 US dollars, and then they completely stopped. So that it does seem that they didn't want to just, get a small amount of hash rate and just chug along to sort of be part of regular BCH mining operations. It does seem like they had a specific need to do this. Now, there's possible that some customers would specifically value freshly mined BCH, right? Which is kind of nonsense because theoretically all BCH is fungible, right? So any coins are just the same as any other coins. But we have had Kevin O'Leary, the Shark Tank investor, billionaire guy, introducing this narrative in the past, which is, again, kind of nonsense, but he says it anyway, that the freshly mined Bitcoins are better because they can't possibly be associated with any criminal activity and all this. So he's like, fresh Bitcoins are the best. But so maybe some kind of thinking like that has spurred somebody to do a deal with Phoenix Mining to grab them a fresh batch of BCH, which would make it worthwhile for them to mine at a loss. That's really the only semi-sensible explanation I can think of. I don't know. What do you think?
Yes, yeah, I also, this is a kind of speculation. I also cannot think about something else, Jeremiah. So, yeah. Good.
Because there are other sort of possible explanations in the sense of maybe they just wanted to test out their BCH operations, like all the mining pools. It's smart for them to have BTC and BCH running so they can switch back and forth as the prices change and they can optimize their hash rate. So that makes sense. But why would they do that with just mining 90% and then completely vanish? That doesn't add up. You could say, were they like trying to troll BCHs somehow? Well, it wasn't very effective because nothing happened and they didn't make any attacks or they didn't do anything. So that seems like kind of strange. If they wanted just a stack of BCH, they could have just bought it on the market. So or they could have just mined BTC as well as they mined BCH. So yeah, it's really
or to add to the speculations, maybe they add so much hash rate to that they did not expect it, that they would almost triple the BCH hash rate, and so were surprised what happened, and they quickly decreased it and took. Maybe that's also what could be possible. That was a BTC miner and with under another name, and they put it in BCH, and they were shocked actually about the effect. Yeah, it could be.
It's possible. No, it's more than possible. I saw several people say, like, when it started and people were speculating, like, why is this going on? A couple of people said, look, maybe they've just messed up their configuration file. They've just accidentally set it to the wrong network, and they'll realize, like, I sort of don't want to believe that, because I would hope that the miners were more aware of what was going on than that. But I think it's a very credible theory, because this kind of stuff does just randomly, happen. So maybe they just mined for 2 days and then realized, oh, what are we doing, guys? Like, let's switch it off, back onto BTC. It does fit the facts kind of perfectly. But anyway, we'll keep an eye on those mined rewards and then see if they move, or if they just hodl them, or what's going on. But I predicted, or I said in that initial summary thread when things had started happening, that I personally felt like this was quite bullish for BCH, and I didn't think it was an attack because, like you said, it gets marketing attention onto BCH. It didn't cause a huge stir in all of cryptocurrency, but a few people were genuinely looking at it. It shows that those miners are obviously making sure their BCH operations are ready in case that there was a price pump that they were expecting or some reason that they would want to allocate more of their hash rate to it. I thought the community's response was perfect, that nobody panicked, nothing was broken, all the transactions were doing fine. There was some discussion about it, and probably there will be ongoing discussion. I don't know if we're going to have anybody come out with any proposals of what we could do differently next time, given that everything went fine exactly as it was. There's no immediate need to change anything, but it's possible somebody can do some more digging or research on this, or more info comes out, and then we think maybe we need to adapt somehow to stop it, because it's always been known that this could be possible, that being a minority hash rate, you could have these larger miners come in, but the incentive is not for them to fuck around with BCH, and they didn't. So in that way, it's actually bullish because it adds to the credibility for next time, right?
Absolutely. You were even mentioned in Daily Coin, by the way, your thread, Jeremiah. So from my perspective, really good. So that's what I also saw, that you were mentioned, the whole article. You did not know?
I didn't know about that. Wow.
Okay. I will pass you the link later if I find it again. And it's really bullish. And usually you see a price pump after that kind of event. And the price went really down. But then afterwards, Bitcoin Cash almost bounced like 15-20%.
Yes, it's true, exactly. And it's hard to say, exactly what is, influencing what, maybe Phoenix themselves were testing it and they realized, BCH actually pretty resilient, like the difficulty adjusted. This maybe they thought they would buy a stack, or maybe the market saw that there was this situation and that it had all been resolved. Well, there was a couple of sort of B2C people had made some comments like, oh, BCH, what a mess. It's all dying. What a shitcoin. That's the same thing they say every time. But actually, that was quite interesting to see a couple of them say that. And not too many. I don't even think it was really that big of a deal overall. But that they didn't realize that this is actually a huge sign of resilience. Everything worked fine. Nothing was broken. No BCH users had any problem. The community was aware of it, but not panicked, which is the perfect situation you want to be in. And overall, I just felt like it was kind of totally a non-issue. And I was super thrilled, I guess, that the community responded exactly as they did. So some listeners will be hearing this show thinking, I didn't even know about it. And that's exactly the point, right? That's exactly how it should be. Now, the solution in the long term really is the same as with all the hash rate stuff, which is that we just got to build more adoption, flip the narrative, and then once we get our price pump up to where we flip BTC, then we'll have all the mining, and then that will be the end of that. Then there will be no bigger pool of hash rate to come in and meddle with the chain, but seem to be kind of fine, really. Another exciting day in crypto. It was just another exciting day in crypto. This kind of stuff from
never
the industry.
Never a dull moment.
Absolutely, yeah, exactly. Jet, did you have any quick thoughts on any of this?
Not really. I read your thread and I just went about my day. Like I was like, yeah, okay. Like we've kind of been. There's been that like, oh, if we're going to get attacked, like, where's that attack? And, well, this wasn't it. I still have no, what's heuristic for like, be concerned. It's been fine the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. Time is just stacking up. The miners want BCH. Why would they not? Why would they not? For them, it's a free insurance policy. Like if any one miner came in and started meddling around with BCH, how pissed would the rest of the mining industry be? Like, guys, this is our golden like backup ticket. Don't fuck around with this. So yeah, it's been fine. Okay, in other news and sort of semi-related to this, actually, we've had the Mt. Gox coins have started to be released after more than a decade of the industry sitting under this cloud of Mt. Gox, who blew up at the time with, I believe it was 700,000 Bitcoins that they had. I haven't checked that number recently, but from memory, they had about 700,000 Bitcoins when they went offline in February of 2024. I mean, February of 2014. So here we are a decade later, or a little more, and that has long since receded into the ancient mists of Bitcoin history. But the funds that were recovered from that incident has been 140,000 BTC and BCH, which is going to be distributed to creditors over the next 90 or so days. I had this speculative theory about Roger Ver getting 20k BTC and just starting the flippening based on that. Well, it turns out that was complete bullshit, because now we have the actual creditors list. I've got some of them here, some of the people from the creditors list, which is public information. So Roger is due for 577 BTC and BCH. So, I mean, that's still a good chunk of change, to be honest. And then Jesse Powell, the CEO of Kraken, he's getting 652 coins. Greg Maxwell, he's a whale, 928 coins. Adam Back, 108 coins. Rick Falkving, 88 coins, and a few other people as well. Wasn't Luke on this year? Yeah, Luke Jr., 446 coins. So he will be back in action after his previous disaster where he lost like 300 coins or something. His God is smiling on him because he's reimbursed him all these coins out of the Mt. Gox bankruptcy, it seems. But either way, this is going to be a FUD point that people have been bringing up forever. Oh, when Mt. Gox coins are released, everybody's going to dump and it's going to be a disaster. So surely at the end of these couple months, that'll end, right? We're not going to have to hear any more about Mt. Gox after this point. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we will see some effects. People had to wait 10 years for getting their funds back or part of the fund back. I don't know the exact details about the creditor and everything what you're now sharing. A really good list, by the way. Really good digging what you did. Mt. Gox, I watched a documentary about it like a couple of months ago. So for the people who do not know what actually happened with Mt. Gox, exchange was hacked and a lot of people lost their money. And now because of Bitcoin increased so much, now people get their money back for the coins what were still saved. Now after the split, they also received BCH, of course. I think it is bullish for BCH. Just think about also the ratio BTC BCH. A lot of people share the vision of Satoshi and peer-to-peer cash and not the digital gold narrative. So these are people who are OGs in the early days of Bitcoin, and the community was divided. Of course, there was a split, but I believe that lots of them will swap to BCH, and part of it will also be sold because it's a lump sum you receive out of nothing. So that will also have some small term effects on the market for the coming weeks. But after that, for the people who do not do that and switch it to BCH, there is that this is amazingly bullish how I see it. I made a video, quick thoughts about it earlier, I think 1 or 2 weeks ago, where I also shared this message. I think the BTC holders have to worry more than BCH holders. What do
Yeah.
you think about that, Jeremy?
Well, I think I'm exactly the same. I mean, obviously, I had this theory about swapping, but it doesn't need to be specifically Roger. It's just in aggregate. The fact is, BCH, this is the one case, probably uniquely, or maybe, in a very small minority of cases, where having the price ratio set against us so heavily is a huge, huge benefit, because it means that of the entire pool of Bitcoins that is being given to everybody, then only one person swapping a BTC to BCH cancels out like 160 BCH being dumped, right? And there's the same amount of coins, not the same USD value, but the same Satoshis of each one are being distributed. So in that case, it only means less than 1% of people swapping from BTC to BCH can cancel out 99% swapping from BCH to BTC. Now, of course, that it's even better than that, because by and large, not everybody is going to do that exact swap. Some people are going to sell out for fiat, and then again, selling for fiat in BTC is doing a lot more damage than selling in BCH. And like you said, this is not a sample of random people, just in crypto or in the world. This is people who were in Bitcoin before February 2014. Why do I keep saying that?
Yep.
Before February 2014, probably really before December. Like, I don't know, they were even really accepting. Things were very shaky in January of 2014. Let's put it that way. So they're probably 2013 and earlier. And all of those people are at least aware that Bitcoin was a currency, and they're aware of the history of BTC and BCH. That's not to say all of them are hardcore BCHs, right? We can see on this list, Greg Maxwell and Luke Jr. and Adam Back. I'm sure they'll be out there dumping their coins as fast as they possibly can, and then probably making a big Twitter post announcing that they, dumped them to try and add even more FUD, right? But this only has to happen once, and it's a perfect time with the ratio so low for it to happen. And then from that point on, I think the hardcore BTC ones will be very few and far between, and there'll be more than a few big blockers getting these airdrops than you would expect. So that will be overall an increase in the resources of the community. And I hope a few big blockers, are making it rich here, and then that'll just free up their time and energy to crack on with BCH or not. I mean, if they want to go and sit on an island, fair enough, right?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And besides that, this was how do you say it, lumbering around for 10 years.
Yeah, it was kind of looming.
And sometimes the news came back. I'm in the space since 2016, and the various moments there was some Mount Gox FUD, which came into the news, and that brought the markets down, and everyone noticed that, of course, in their portfolio value. That is now gone. So also for not only for BCH but for crypto in general, when this has all been settled, and the summer has passed, so I think in September, then it looks really, really good for crypto BCH in general.
Can I hop in here,
absolutely. Yeah, get in there. Are you a creditor? No.
No, it was before my time, unfortunately. But so how many BCH gets mined every day currently?
Well, 450-ish, right? Because it's 3.125 a block, 144 blocks. It's about, between 475, something like that.
Okay. And do we know what happens to this Bitcoinica LP? Since they're not around.
What's going on here. This Bitcoinica LP has 44,547 coins being distributed to them, which is absolutely massive. Let's have a look. How much is that in? So if we just multiply that by roughly, let's say
157.
57,000. Let's just say they're getting $2.5 billion is in this Bitcoinica LP. So I don't know what creditors are going to get their hands on that. But I'm sure somebody is going to be sticking their hand out to get a
separate lawsuit that takes 10 years.
Probably. I hope so. That, you know.
Okay, so let's be cynical about this. Let's say that they alone dump all of their BCH, like sell for fiat. Is there? I know we can kind of like a shot in the dark do some math to estimate where the price would head, but is there any way to calculate what real impact that would have on the market?
Probably yes, but I don't know that we're going to be able to do it live on the fly here. Like you can look at, and it's a bad measure, but you can look at the order depth across all the markets, and then you can go on an exchange and they have that thing there where you can slide the cursor around and find out, if somebody dumped like 100 BCH right now, it would drop the price like $2 or whatever. So I'm sure somebody could do that, and they could aggregate that across all the exchanges. And then obviously if somebody actually started selling that much, it might create a panic, and there would be all kinds of other, runoff from that. But I think
I would legitimately be so excited. I'd be gobbling up as many coins as I could.
The Mount Gox FUD in action. Well, that's it. And the thing is that people can only sell once. That's the beauty of the system, right? There's a limited supply. So every time that you are spending your BCH, or you're selling it, in the case of these BTC guys who are like, BCH is a shitcoin, they can only sell it once, and they can feel good about it on that day that they dumped and they showed the community what's what. But then the next day, then they're now powerless. They can't keep dumping. It's impossible. So I actually really like that. That's a sneaky little element of Bitcoin that I love. That every single day the money is flowing to people who want the coins, because that's exactly how it works. You can't sell to somebody who doesn't want to buy them. So every single day, more money is just accumulating, and that changes over time. Some people buy in, some people leave, whatever. But every single day, the clock is ticking forward on BCH having a really strong set of UTXO holders, and you can always see that in those graphs of over time the coin age going up as people who put it in cold storage and are like, we're good for 15 years. They don't unaccumulate.
Yes. Yeah, I just want to mention that point, the coin age. If you compare that also to BTC from BCH, we are far more loyal to our currency than BTC holders do. So absolutely. And also, you can think of it, especially what happened last year with the bit short squeeze. They're not so, exchanges do not have so much. So if you now are going to sell and you want to get it back, now at the exchanges, there are not so much BC. I believe that at Binance, there's only 16,000 is there in circulation, 16,000. So that's really a little bit. And that's why BCH is pumping so quickly after every big dump, because shorts are getting squeezed enormously if the big rally. So think good what you do.
Yeah, it's good.
For the holders who are watching this.
Exactly. I mean, like you said, the coin age, I wouldn't be surprised if BCH had an advantage, just because there was a decent amount of BCH lost in the fork, much more than the BTC. And so for those coins, like, they will just be locked forever, essentially. But I'm sure you could do analysis. And I think we've even had someone on this show before. If you took a point in the past, like let's say maybe by the middle of 2018 or the start of 2019, and you looked at the BTC and BCH chain for only active coins from that point on, coins that had moved, and then checked if they were still hodling and stuff, I think BCH would come out ahead. I'm fairly sure about that, because everybody talks a big game about hodling in BTC, but the fact is, when the price goes up, of course they're gonna like go on a holiday, they're gonna buy a new car, they're gonna do whatever they're gonna do, and because they don't have an actual P2P economy, they literally have to sell it for fiat. There's no other way. So I'm sure they're not doing many P2P deals with the hotels and stuff at their conferences. In fact, we had, what's the name, Vlad Kosti posting about, gosh, it's such a disaster to embarrassing to go to a BTC conference and see everyone paying in credit cards.
Yes.
Right? So I'm sure that's another thing where every day it's just getting worse for them. It's getting better for us because we're building more and more P2P economy, and for them it's getting worse where it's just stagnating and nobody cares. Everybody's just talking big on Twitter, but then actually going to Coinbase to sell their stack, and that's what they're all going to do with these Mt. Gox coins as well too, right? All right, cool. Well, I think we've covered that in pretty good detail then. The other biggest story of this week, which came out, the Polkadot paid propaganda. So CoinDesk published an article highlighting Polkadot's treasury burn, including their marketing. The headline is Polkadot's $245 million treasury would last 2 years at current spending rate. The blockchain spent $87 million in the first 6 months of this year, 2024, with marketing activities accounting for the majority of expenses. So according to this article, in the last 6 months, Polkadot blockchain, which I put in quotation marks since the blockchain can't actually spend the money, what they actually mean is the centralized guys who control it. So obviously BCH doesn't even have an equivalent to this, but many of these chains do. Polkadot, they spent $36 million in ads, events, and meetups. They spent $23 million on software dev for their wallets and exchange integrations and so forth, and $15 million on liquidity provision, I guess, to pump their numbers on like DeFi trading pools or whatever. And I just think this is absolutely crazy when you look at this kind of stuff. $87 million. It really just goes to show how these more centralized coins operate, where they just got that fat stack of either VC money or the founders with just a tiny percentage of the supply that is actually circulating, and then they use that to just sustain all these operations for a few years. But eventually they start to run out of money, and that's where the panic is starting here for Polkadot. Okay, I'm sure they'll find some way to keep the circus going, but the actual return on investment, like they are just barely ahead of BCH on the coin market cap, right? I believe they're number 14 at 8.6 billion, and we're number 16 at 6.2 billion, right? But the thing is, theirs is all relies on this giant chest of money, and once it's gone, that's it. Everything just falls apart because it's not necessarily that much of an organic community actually supporting the infrastructure. So where was this $36 million going? A bunch of known crypto influencers, in quotes, were listed on some invoices that became public. So you can look up a bunch of them if you're interested in it. The links are on the slide as always. But I saw the Crypto Lark, Leia Haleburn, and Wendy O were some of the ones that I recognized. There was a ton of other ones that I didn't recognize. But obviously, as we can see, this is why the rest of the world thinks that crypto is this huge scammy grift and not a P2P alternative grassroots revolutionary currency, because you have these guys out here getting 36 million to shill Polkadot for this year, and then once they run out of money, that's it. They'll stop shilling it and they'll move on to the next coin that has its next treasury that they're spending on it, right? What did you make of this, Paul?
It happens a lot in crypto actually, and it is what you say. It's when the money is gone, there's no more marketing, there's no organic community, there's nothing, and it happens a lot, especially also with the really small coins when there's one dev or when they want to promote something. Even you can make your job out of it if you like to promote or to shill like a known coin. Me myself, for example, last year I was also invested in Opulus, and then I noticed that there were also some influencers on Twitter who were shilling the coin, and we also received a contribution for it by the team. And I immediately emailed twittered direct message the CEO of that one. He said, "Yeah, that's normal." And then I immediately sold my coins because I thought, no, that's not a good basis to get. I still got a little bit because it was locked. So in November I can get rid of them. But it does not help for the confident. How they said that the people will trust crypto with this kind of things. And with crypto got so many stories in that. Maybe you remember it's the Charlie Lee story of Litecoin. This is it's not exactly with that was the owner of Litecoin who at the top sold everything, and it was also highly. This is more in line of crypto things. What is wrong? Not about the influencers in that case, but. In that case, Bitcoin Cash is a community, and there's no centralized authority. And if something has happened, I'm also a content creator. I do it voluntarily. You can send me a donation. You cannot do it. There's not no obligation that I do not expect that anyone sends it to me, but. If I look to crypto influencers who get paid with the Polkadot, who knows how much money, 50,000 a month or a year or whatever, and then most of them are selling their coins immediately, and they really don't care. Then you think
they're just dumping on their followers, and then do they even acknowledge it? Obviously, we can't speak to any specific case, right? But some of them might be more upfront and transparent about it, and some of them maybe not so much, and their followers just don't even realize that they're shilling. Oh, Polkadot has this great new technology and buzzwords and like flashy graphics on their stream or whatever.
Absolutely,
and then, That's why this caused a stir, because then when this information comes out, it gets massively retweeted around everywhere, and suddenly the shills are exposed. Which people can point fingers and say, "Look, you're a shiller," and then they can say, "No, you're impugning my reputation," or so what. And then what do you know? The documents come out, and there it all is. The Bitcoin Cash podcast is not on any of these documents, right? So it's really, really great to see that the BCH community can win literally just by outlasting these guys, because that's the thing. The money dries up eventually. It's missionaries versus mercenaries. The missionaries always win in the end. Why? Because they're there for the long haul, and maybe they aren't getting paid as much, especially not in the short term, but they can outlast and win. And the funding for this show, we get Flipstarter or whatever, that comes from the community. There is no pot of Bitcoin Cash decisionary foundation. There is the Bitcoin Cash Foundation, but that Cheap Lightning does, but that's not. They don't have freaking 245 millions.
They complete authority. You can get stickers from them, and they got really nice news. But and that cheap Lightning is really done well for the community. I don't want to make a joke out of it. I really got a lot of respect for cheap Lightning, but there's no central authority. That's the point.
That's right, and there's no big pot of money either. That's the thing. There's no big pot of money, because as soon as there is, somebody's going to get their hand in. That's why I always never really liked the Dash model of things, where they have their masternodes vote to dish out their extra treasury, and they say, "Oh, it's this great decentralized system." But I thought, no, as soon as you have, and the same with XCC and Amori and the tax, as soon as you have a central pot of money that everybody's competing over, it's guaranteed that at least some of the money, if not all of it, is going to end up going at who is the best at grifting off of that central thing, who is placing themselves just in the right position to be receiving the flow of that money, until, of course, eventually it will dry up, and then they'll just wash their hands of it, say thank you very much, and I'm on to the next thing. And
absolutely,
BCH just doesn't have anything like that, right?
No, because then actually all cryptocurrencies, maybe besides of BTC, BCH, you can compare to stocks, which got the kind of central authority, and they can bring out more coins in circulations, of these tokens in circulations. I have to say, no coins, tokens in circulation, and there's a centralized authority, and BCH does not have this, and we do not have paid Shills. I come back to the same point, but that's the biggest difference. And I think you have BCH and you have other cryptocurrencies which you actually can compare to stocks in my perspective. And that's why it makes BCH really unique. Also, with the other project got in my portfolio, I all want to go back to BCH. Maybe Monero. I do not all the details about Monero about that. There are some others, but really few will have it.
Yeah, any kind of legitimacy, absolutely.
Yeah.
Decentrally focused summarizes it in the chat, says, sounds like a pyramid scheme. Original investors get rich and new investors get burned, but it all comes crashing down in the end. That's exactly what it is. Whoever was in getting the ones making money are the ones who had the initial airdrop of the tokens or whatever, who were the insiders, and then the influencers and shills who jump onto the marketing budget or the software budget or whatever. They get it all while the getting's good, and then pretty quickly there's some mistakes made in the, like, because there can also be an organizational mistake, right? You can have a CEO or a head of finance or something who makes a few crappy decisions, just one person one time misallocates a few resources, and then that's it, you're done, you're toast. Whereas like the crypto, decentralized properly like BCH, if somebody has some crappy ideas, okay, some money goes, like even like the smart BCH, some money went into that, but in the end, but not everything, the community doesn't act as one coordinated individual. So it's not like it has to put all its bets on this or that. People who wanted to be involved were, to a certain extent. Some money was made, some money was lost. And in the end, it kind of all blew up. But that was still like a minority of the resource. It was a big loss, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't like a critical loss, because it wasn't like we've bet everything on this, right? And
absolutely,
the people
yes.
who are avoiding any given scam over time end up being the ones who have more resources to allocate. And so then it's like an organic evolutionary process of the community learning and allocating its resources, like a decentralized brain versus a centralized one, right?
Absolutely, and people can get in other coins from now. Look at the multipliers, better potential on the short term, but you got all the extra risk involved. And do you want that after risk, or do you want to have the true BCH concurrency where you can do everything? Well, BCH is the 3-in-1 solution. We got the peer-to-peer payment system where you can pay your hairdresser or a travel agency. I made some video about it. We also have DeFi. We can buy NFTs, so that's the platform. We got the same amount of circulation as BTC and the same security, never being hacked. Chain itself. It's an improved version, even with all those upgrades and all the, for the people watching this and never the Apple upgrade was fantastic. So there's never a big block discussion anymore. We got small blocks or big blocks depending on the last block. So yeah.
Yeah, that was one thing I want to just tack in there is people were talking about the Phoenix in the comments, is that was another element to it, is the hash rate went up and it went down, but the difficulty adjustment algorithm just handled it. Nobody had to do anything, and it kind of proved the exact same point as ABLA, which is if the community thinks about a problem ahead of time, they figure out an automatic solution, they discuss it, research it, implement it, it gets shipped, everybody just kind of forgets about it. And then when a problem comes up, instead of everybody scrabbling around, like, what are we going to do? It's like, we've already got a planned solution in place, and it just worked. It just worked. And that was obviously the difficulty algorithm versus ABLA, but it's the same concept, I think. And the community is very smart about applying those same principles as we tackle different problems.
Yes. I have nothing to add to that, Jeremy.
All right, so we've got here meme of the week, which was on this topic. It's the Galaxy Brain meme, which is not my favorite. My favorite is the IQ bell curve midwit meme, but this is one of my favorite ones, which is the Galaxy Brain memes, the smallest brain that it just starts off with like small brain is spend millions in marketing. Then the slightly awakening galaxy brain is spend millions in marketing for no effect. And then the top tier enlightenment level is spend millions in marketing for no effect to get exposure from people laughing at you. So I think Polkadot are actually on this galaxy brain level time because they spent $36 million to all these crypto shills, which didn't get them very far, but they did get a mention on the Bitcoin Cash podcast, which they couldn't have got any other way. So it was $36 million well spent. And maybe they truly are the galaxy brains of marketing. I don't know. I just found this so funny. Do you have a favorite meme template, Paul? What's your favorite meme?
I just see them. I don't have a favorite template, and I can laugh of them what I see. But the most with the price one, you see the door which was hacked open with the blood. That's what I now remember.
The Reaper.
But the
Grim Reaper. That's
exactly.
a good one.
Exactly, but from the back of my head, no, I forget them quickly. That's the only one I can come up with at this stage.
No, that I do also like that one. That one can also be really good because that lets you get two for the price of one, because you can put all the people that you wrecked in the past, they're already dead. So you're already like, haha, we wrecked you. And then you can also put a warning shot to the ones you're coming for next. So if you put like, BCH is the Grim Reaper, I've made a meme like that. And then you have all those smaller coins that we've defeated, then it's already like you're wrecked. And then you put the bigger coins in front of you and you're like, and we're still coming. I do. Yeah, that is a good one.
The Polkadot in this case for BC.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Polkadot is the next door, knocking on the door. Yeah. Polkadot Marketing Fund. We need all the names of all the crypto shills, and then just Polkadot, the chain itself. We're coming for you guys.
And quick notice to the Polkadot advertising team or anyone in a similar position: if you want to spend a bunch of money to just get exposure to people that laugh at you, you can pay us a hell of a lot less money.
We will do
that. Yeah.
Never mind 36 million. We will do it for, I don't know. What do you think? We got to negotiate live on stream. 1 million. I think I'll accept a lowball offer at 1 million paid in BCH, guys. So let me just throw that out there for a quick segment for a meme of the week. I would say probably about 1 million per meme. But open to negotiations. So come chat to us about that. Yeah. Brilliant. Okay. We've got a couple of other bits of news that have been happening in the community. Dagger from Shadow Wizards, and who gave a great BLISS talk, which you should look into if you didn't hear it. He has been teasing a test transaction borrowing 117 MUSD, which I assume is Moria USD, against 1 BCH as collateral. So he's got a screenshot here showing the breakdown of what's going on. So it looks like some kind of stable coin DeFi magic is in the works from them. We've got Sayoshi Nakamorio, who you mentioned at the start of the show, has launched his fundme.cash. So you can go to fundme.cash and use fundme.cash to fund fundme.cash if you want to see more of that, but is essentially a Wallet Connect version of Flipstarter, trying to take the community's crowdfunding efforts, which is our alternative to the Polkadot Shill fund, to the next level. That's been really good to see. And finally, this week, we also had Bitcoin Magazine, BTC Magazine, generated a bit of controversy with an article from anonymous quotation marks Bob, who put an article on their site floating the idea of an automatic HODL tax on UTXOs, with the idea being that if miners are not getting paid from transaction fees enough, but they're high enough that the small UTXOs, like the 50-cent UTXOs, can't even be spent, then why don't they just start automatically taxing any UTXOs that have not been moved in a certain amount of time, which then would force people to move their coins every so often to avoid getting taxed. and anybody who was below the threshold would just send their money automatically off to make the miners money, which of course created controversy because everyone's like, wait, that's kind of not the point of Bitcoin. That's just like inflation in a roundabout way. So that was quite funny to see. We've already seen the complete collapse. We'll get onto this in a second, but we've already seen the BTC community falling apart pretty hard. It's gone from 21 million P2P cash to 21 million digital gold. Then it went to 21 million digital gold, and only some people can afford UTXOs. Everybody else, too bad, so sad. And then it's gone to Peter Todd kind of being like, well, maybe we can do tail inflation, guys. That wouldn't be so bad. And now it's turned onto, well, maybe we can do reverse inflation and just tax your UTXOs. Anyway, that's the news this week. Paul, did you have any favorite standouts from any of these?
To react on the first two, really interesting. I'm really curious what is going to happen with to borrow MUSD against BCH. That is another dimension of DeFi. What then will happen? So I'm really looking forward to that. And the fundme.cash. I have to say, with Flipstarter, I do not know so much. I know the principle that you can crowdfund projects, and also on the Bitcoin Cash Telegram channel, some people are even advertising for that. But I understood from Ray that, shout out to him, by the way, Ray used Bitcoin Cash, that it is a quite technical process, and that Satoshi Nakamoto now is launching this to make it a bit easier also for the less technical people it's great. It's really good, and I'm looking forward to see that alternative, and perhaps also to use it, because I would like to arrange some meetups also in the Netherlands and Belgium, also maybe with Mathieu Gurkens, Kilian, with other people in Holland who are listening to this. To hold some events, because the time is ripe now to make BCH grow. So that Satoshi Nakamoto is doing this to go back to really great.
Yeah, and I think it's really important because the flip starters have been quite successful. I've talked about this on the show a number of times. Obviously, we use it ourselves, so obviously we do support it. But it's such a strong way of showing that you can have an organic grassroots community way to actually monetize and bootstrap new projects. But it has been a bit complicated. It is quite fiddly to use and so forth. So now when we have things like fundme.cash, and as it goes forward with Cash Connect, and as the technology for the wallets and cash tokens gets a little better all integrated into all the wallets and everything like that, it's going to be increasingly smooth for people who join the community to then be able to fund the projects that they want. Now, what's even better is that the technology, there's kind of three pillars to it, right? The technology is one element. The economics is another element of people understanding what's the right amount to pitch for, how much should they contribute, and so forth. And then the third element is the social element, which is that it took a while for the BCH community to smarten up on things like, which flip starters should I fund? How much should I give? Should we, what kind of accountability should we demand? And there would still be ongoing improvements in that way, but a lot of money was lost at the start. Nothing to do with the technology or anything, bugs, or nothing to do with that, just due with people putting their money in the wrong place. And so as our technology improves, the community still already maintains that same social understanding. Whereas if you gave this technology to another community, then they would once again be back to square one on figuring out all those same issues, right? So I can see that we're advancing ahead of the competition on multiple fronts, because it would be impossible for anybody, firstly, to copy the exact technology that we have, because it's all being developed custom in-house for the BCH community and with the BCH tools, but then also that same social awareness and culture, which takes time to build up too. So for those reasons, I'm so bullish on fundme.cash and the iterations going forward, definitely. All right. Do you want to say anything about this taxing the UTXOs? Or yeah, you just didn't even care about that. Like they're gonna.
No, you made such a good summary, and you are also more in talks with the BTC community, also on Twitter. Now I know some BTC maxis in the Netherlands, but they are not so aware of everything what happened. Then what you just summarized, so nothing to add to that. But
All right.
the inflation thing, really, if that is happening, that is the how do you say that? The debt people will run away from the debt spiral of BTC. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. And the thing was, there was it's funny because some people, they published this and then there was sort of outcry. And then some people said like, oh, we're just discussing it, guys. Like, why are you trying to, it's just an idea. Nobody's saying that we have to do it immediately. But the whole reason there was an outcry is because these ideas percolate, First, you have to float it up. You have to get it in the discussion. Like on this show, we can say, okay, theoretically, do we understand that idea? Yes, but it's a crap idea. End of story. Whereas if, I don't know, some people are a little bit pro, some people are a little bit con, you just boil the frog. And that's what they're doing over there with their narrative getting more and more out of hand. So good luck to them with that. Okay, community comment of the week comes from Jomar in the Philippines with Paytaka, and he posted in Telegram, quote, "Somebody has been onboarding businesses in Los Angeles, USA using Paytaka. 15 merchants onboarded in total as of the moment. Whoever you are, and if you are here, please reach out so we can help each other better," end quote. And I love this. This has got 10 fire emojis, 3 likes, 2 shocked faces, and 1 unicorn. And I think that's spot on because this is an amazing sign of grassroots growth, right? The Paytaka team have built some tooling, they've got some momentum, and somebody passionate has independently taken the initiative to go out and do all the onboarding. Like, that's just the sign that things are working, is when your project is starting to take on a life of its own that you can't account for anymore. Like the podcast is the same, right? When I'm putting out episodes, and like you said, that I got this mention on this news article that I wasn't even aware of, right? That's when things are really working, is when you start becoming aware of impact that you're having that you didn't directly go and do all the work to create yourself. So huge shout out to whoever this Los Angeles onboarder is. I hope they get in touch. Yes. Well, 15 merchants. That's a serious.
That's a lot. That's really a lot. Yeah.
That's a serious job. Anybody who's gone out and got 1 merchant knows that 15, that's a bloody good effort. And obviously, yeah, hopefully they do get in touch with Paytaka, because he said that they would get them some merch and support them. That's exactly what you want to be having. People who are proactive and getting results on their own, and then link up with the network effect of the community, and we help to push that forward. So I love this. Tell me about this. Were you as excited as I was to read this Telegram message?
This is great. Yeah, absolutely. No, I saw in the preparation. I did not see it in the BCH channel, but in the slides you shared beforehand. I'm really excited. I only onboarded 2 of them, and it takes some time. And I was street vendor. But 15, that's a huge amount. And I think also about Bitcoin Cash, who onboarded all those sites, and Townsville, and everyone else who did. This is a huge amount. So well done for the person who did this. Shout out to you.
Absolutely. The BCH hero of the week. Right here. And it's funny because it was like they were getting them to install the Paytaka point of sales, which is how they know about it. But that's the thing, there was no registration or anything, so they could just crack on with that on their own. But you kind of wonder how they were just like, oh, here's this, let me do this. They didn't even think to talk to Paytaka. I don't know. It's great. I love it. Love everything about this. Okay, we have also a second community comment of the week. This week, the community has been absolutely on fire. So I have one here, which is from Zach XBT, who said, "This AVAX whale has been doing large AVAX to BCH swaps for the past 2 weeks now, $5 million in total, and still has another $6 million, 100,000 AVAX. Who wants BCH in 2024? And the comment of the week comes in from Luke Pryor, who's been on the show before, legend. We're going to have him back soon. We need to do the meme competition for this year. We've got something cooking for that. Who said, quote, "People don't realize BCH is a whole different chain in 2024 since it forked. It's had 6 years of aggressive upgrades. It now has the monetary properties of BTC, the DeFi capabilities of ETH, and the scalability of Sol." And end quote. And I love that, because really what he's describing is just the original Bitcoin, which BCH is, right? But for people who don't know, for people who've been out of the loop, this is such a great way of explaining it in a way that they will understand. Everybody understands BTC, okay? Sound money, 21 million, proof of work. They understand all those ideas, but they also think no DeFi, right? That's what Ethereum is known for. Ethereum is like the DeFi chain that everybody came up with DeFi on. So if you tell them it's BTC plus ETH, then now they think, oh, not too bad. And of course, the most hyped thing at the moment is also Solana. Why? Because it's so scalable.
But let me interrupt you. You say you're right. There's like the BTC plus Ethereum plus Sol, but we have to add to it that BCH does not have all those interruptions like Solana network got all the time. So people forget that, but the network of Solana, I think it was down like 20, 30 times this year already.
Exactly.
So it's even better.
Yes, that's right. Exactly. And just trying to explain to people that it's like a fusion of all the best elements of these other coins that they like for, different reasons. I think that's maybe something that we can lean into a bit, or we can try and add into our marketing. Now, as a purist, I'm always still going to want to hopefully, work in there. Well, but really it's the original Bitcoin, and the original Bitcoin already had all of that stuff. It already had a DeFi friendly community, it already had scalability, it already had the sound money properties. But you got to get them in the door first, right? So maybe
absolutely, and you heard me saying it early in the podcast. But what I also said, like the security scale of the properties of BTC, DeFi NFTs, we got pay-to-payment system, and a better Bitcoin. What we got, it's 3-in-1 solution, or maybe more even. Absolutely, and I will make some shorts about this too, because this is so important messages to have it quick and powerful. And
yeah, it's been fantastic. I love how the community is constantly thinking up these new ways of explaining it, because we've just always got the same idea, but as time goes on, there's always got to be fresh ways of catching someone's interest, because you never know what particular way of explaining it will appeal to a different person. And so once they hear it enough times, if it's always the same way of explaining it, then maybe they never get it. But if it's a slightly different way each time, eventually something's going to click with them. So yeah, big shout out to Luke. He's very creative with coming up with these different ideas.
And besides of that, the AVAX will still at 6 million to go to swap to BCH. So that's also really bullish news before we forget that detail.
Yes, true. Very true. Very true. And that's the thing, the narrative is constantly moving in our favor. And maybe now things are coming around to the point that these other big holders on other chains, who are the ones who are most likely to be thinking, what's the next thing? I got to make sure my whole bag doesn't get wiped out, because if you're a huge holder, you can afford to just make sure you have a little position going in each coin as it's on the rise. So maybe we're starting to see big money pay attention to BCH. It's like a perfect storm, of all the things that we've already discussed. The community is organic instead of being paid propaganda, that people can look into it and discover that that's true. They can watch my channel and your channel and everyone else's channel and see this is not a slick paid marketing propaganda from some central organization. It's obvious that it isn't. No. The Mt. Gox coins, the Phoenix mining, it's all coming together, right?
And absolutely, and also, yeah, people are maybe in the memes for the quick buck, but they know in their heart that they can lose all of it really quickly, and they want an alternative to also to put that profits in a really safe investment, just from an trading or investment portfolio. Besides of that.
Absolutely. All right. So last week we did episode number 119 and called out tons of the collapsing narrative in BTC and the whole disaster around that. Now, as I promised on that episode, I then we got the clip made of it and we put it up on Twitter, and I called out what exactly did I say? I said, the crumbling BTC hoax a la US Democrats explained. And then I tagged all those people that I mentioned: Lorenzo, Bitcoin Mechanic, John Carvalho, Peter McCormack, the Bankless guys, Shinobi, and Nopara73. And I said, how long will you continue lying to yourselves and or the audience? And no punches pulled, just went straight in there with that. Now, I also tagged a bunch of other people in the comments who are also related or might be interested in the crypto scene, and we just have been seeing a bit of the response over the last day or two. I think I only posted it on Friday night, or maybe even just on yesterday, on Saturday, and I got one response. Firstly, one of the best responses I got was from Nopara73, who was the Lightning developer that was finding that it wasn't working in El Salvador. And he initially said, look, sorry, but 1.5 hours is a bit too long for me. Would you mind pointing out what you believe to be lies from me? And I said to him, yeah, sure, just skip to this section. You can hear it yourself. And explain that, look, I'm not saying he's out there spreading all this misinformation, but that actually I believe he's just fooled himself that this whole store of value thing can work. And he wrote back and said, thanks, that was surprisingly well elaborated. And he talked a little bit about it. He was friendly. So we might be able to have him on the show in the future. I'm really looking forward to that. So that was actually the response I was hoping to get out of people. And that was, really great to see that if people actually just engage with the show and listen to what we have to say, suddenly it isn't so radical and out there. I had to make it a bit inflammatory to actually get him to pay attention with the whole thing about the lying. But it's true, and it did ring true to him. So I was really glad to see that we could have at least some sort of connection with him. Now, then on the other hand, I got.
Well, before you continue, well done, Chair.
Okay, you want to? Okay,
yeah,
all right.
Yeah, we're well done, because I know you're for really some time. You're also having discussions with people from the BTC side, and so you got a lot of critics, and you just try to stay logical and with fair arguments, and that how do you say the coin is that it falls down, the theory that they understand what you say and they agree with you. So that's a huge plus. So kudos to you, Jeremy.
Yes, the narrative collapse. Yeah, exactly. It's like a house, or a castle. There's just some beams supporting up the roof, and if you just keep knocking away just a little bit at the edges here and there, the loose beams of their mental framework of the propaganda, then eventually one or two of them fall out, and then it's a mess. Yeah. It all falls down, and they're more open to it, And there was another guy actually who I don't have a picture here on the slides. His name was J.E., like it seemed like it might be French, Je Thoreau. And he also wrote in, and he had some criticisms about it. He said, okay, I don't agree 100% with what you said about El Salvador and this and that. But he had watched it all, and he gave a good response, and I wrote back to him, and that was great. And even if he gives me some criticisms, and he said, I don't 100% agree with this or that, I was very happy to see that and to talk to him, and I think he enjoyed that as well too. And one of the things he said was, look, I'm not so impressed by the BCH community, because I watch this stream which he watched, and he had some criticisms of that we said a couple of things wrong in his point of view. And so therefore he said, look, that makes me skeptical because I'm already skeptical. And then I come to you and you're giving these, false bits of information. And I wrote back to him and I said, well, just think about this. I'm not saying that we're perfect, but we're trying to do the best job that we can. It's in good faith. And if you look at the amount of work that I have done to review all of these clips, to gather all this information from the BTC community and stuff, you can see that I'm trying to have a genuine discussion. And also, don't criticize the BCH community for failing to live up to a standard that you don't think the BTC community would meet or exceed, because he can't be saying, look, the BCH community are getting this wrong and they're doing this and that. If I said, look, we have suffered a titanic amount of slander and disinformation and attacks, where are the people out there doing logical, well broken down the case against BCH? No, it's all shitcoin and scam and everything like that. So I think if people are coming to the BCH community from the BTC side, one thing you'll see is they'll often sort of pre-establish a defense where they'll say, I really wanted to listen to the BCH community, but you guys had, and they'll find one or two little things to nitpick about, which is sort of an excuse that they can say, that it wasn't genuine or that they found a problem here or there or something like that. And if they do,
or even I was a BTC Max. She's talking for Roger first crazy. Look at this clip. So only one clip is then picked out, and besides of all the nice work is done for all bringing, making crypto bigger. That kind of What do you say? Nitpicking about one tiny little thing. Are you going to invite the guy? By the way, because he offered.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. So I spoke to him. Again, it won't be soon. We've already got a few episodes lined up, but I will hopefully be talking to him in the sort of medium term future, so we can look forward to that. And I will ask him on that episode about his impression of our review of his clip and his thoughts on the BCH community. I mean, he said he's like, okay, well, I'm not convinced it's a viable alternative, but maybe you can convince me. So we'll see. I'll try and see what I can do in that regard, and also to hear maybe he can be convincing, and he's always open, of course, on this show, that our listeners, maybe he has some new info about best ways to do onboarding that we haven't heard before, or that some surprising news about how El Salvador is going or something. I'm very interested to hear what he has to say. But just to finish that point on the other guy, Jay Thoreau, I think you'll see this, the BCH community will see this, that people will come in and they'll say, I'm interested and I'm curious, but they'll be a bit hesitant and they'll have one sort of excuse or reason. And often it'll be, the BCH is interesting, but the BCH community sucks in this particular respect. And a great way to rebut that or to diffuse that is to say, we're not perfect, but you've got to hold everyone to the same standard, right? And then that will help them think, maybe these BCH guys aren't perfect, but look around in the BTC community, there's all kinds of people shilling all kinds of scams. There's people being completely mean and rude and obnoxious. There's people who have no valid arguments. There's people that are horrible and mean for no reason. And then suddenly that helps them to recontextualize, okay, I'm on the orange team, and there might be some problems in green team, but I've really got to see that in in the context of the alternative, which I might be biased to, but really, if I look around, come on. So I would recommend that to people if they're getting in any discussions like that from people that are curious, is to say, look, but you can't say you guys have done worse. Don't say that. You have to say we're not perfect, 100%. We've got room to improve. And we're happy to listen. It's up to us to set a very high standard. First, you have to accept that responsibility. And then secondly, you say, okay, that said, before criticizing us, maybe just, take a look at what the alternatives are and then see, are we really underperforming, or, is this a valid area to be criticizing us on,
Amen.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So that was the first response that I got from those people that I tagged. Secondly, from Bitcoin Mechanic, it was kind of the opposite and a little bit disheartening, I'd say, but it is what it is. So he said, quote, You've invited me on cordially before to no avail. Baiting me with accusations of dishonesty is not going to work either. My position can be summarized easily. 2 bullet points. Bullet point 1, Bitcoin has some horrible issues. Bullet point 2, Bcash is a laughable alternative. Podcast unnecessary. End quote. And I didn't, I was a bit sad to see this. I mean, firstly, I was heartened that he wrote at all. That's always a positive sign. And secondly, I was quite glad actually that he said, you've invited me on cordially before. Like I have. I've tried to talk to him and say, hey man, do you want to come on the show, or can we talk about this, or hear his perspective? And he said no, he wasn't interested, for his own reasons, and that's fine. But seeing him actually acknowledge that also, I felt added a lot of credibility. But like he said, baiting me with accusations of dishonesty. Obviously, it was a bit of bait in terms of the actual tweet itself, but that's not really what I said in the episode with the section about him. I said, I would really hope you would want to be on Team BCH and that you're doing a lot of really important work. And then I had some other criticisms after that, right? So it seems like he didn't actually watch it, which is fine. It's up to him what he does or doesn't watch. But he still has this kind of binary opinion that, okay, Bitcoin is broken, but we can fix it, which was what I explained, kind of isn't really true. And then it's just still, Bcash is a laughable alternative. Like, he just needs to have a mindset shift. I wrote and said, I don't know what we can do to make it not a laughable alternative for you. But if he's not going to elaborate about that, then we just have to keep making BCH better. And eventually, for someone like him, who knows what it'll be? He'll be he'll be traveling somewhere and he'll suddenly find a little pocket of the world where there's a substantial amount of BCH adoption, or he'll see a tweet from somebody that he doesn't expect being like, wow, I used BCH and it was really working really well. Or something will trigger him to look into the community and he'll be impressed that actually we've got, Flipstarters running and using it as a P2P. Who knows what it'll be, right? But for everyone, it's going to be different. So it's just up to us to keep doing good work, and eventually that speaks for itself to people who are skeptical. Like him, we can't necessarily target them individually, especially if they're not willing to really engage. So I was a little bit, disappointed and sad on that.
But you could also already see that he calls it Bcash, and in that case, then he does not even want to give Bitcoin the name of it, and this is that he even does not want to laughable alternative. It's okay, but he does not give any arguments either. So you can actually you can there are people who are only BTC holders and who know that BCH actually is improved version, but they're still in BTC also because of the safety they expect is the number one, and you got other people who only listen to Michael Saylor, and they have a kind of hate against BCH, but we still see, and with this kinds of responses of hate, who really do not like it. I don't know if he hates it, but really do not like it and would like to express like this. And everyone has the freedom to do so. But these are the two groups that I recognize within BTC community.
Yeah, well, in his case, it is justified. I understand why he has the position he does, because he was involved when there was a lot of high tension during the block size wars, and he was, had his own role to play in that. And that's exactly what I said on that episode. I talked about that, and I said, that I actually agreed with him about a lot of that. And I feel like if he had actually listened to some of that, that might have helped. But it seems like he didn't even really give it the time of day. And so then that's, we can't get any further if he doesn't want to play ball. But I hope at some point he'll come around. Okay, then we had so we had the sort of the good and the bad response here, and then we had two examples where I think I just knocked it out of the park. It was amazing. It got a response from Peter McCormack, who responded to Bitcoin Mechanics tweet. He wouldn't respond to mine, but he would, obviously. That's the thing, it opens the door once other people who you recognize are discussing it, then he would get into it. So he responded to this tweet about, Bcash is a laughable alternative. And he said, quote, I mean, is there any need to discuss BCH or engage with the losing side anymore? BCH is irrelevant, end quote. So I, of course, replied with the exact point that I had made in the very video itself, which was, quote, why do you constantly mention Roger Ver and big blockers on your show then? Happens literally every week. This latest one I reviewed in the video is by no means an aberration. For those playing along at home, Peter McCormack talking about big blockers on his own show very recently at 1 hour, 4 minutes and 25 seconds in the OP video. Why would he then come in with dismissals that BCH is irrelevant and probably even believe it himself despite his own actions? See rest of vid, end quote. So that's just it. That just summarizes it right there. I preempted his whole thing. I explained that he's constantly trying to, dismiss BCH and not hear it, come up with false dilemmas to just dismiss it. But he's always bringing it up on his show. And then here he is trying this exact same propaganda and gaslighting. I honestly think he probably believes it himself. He tells himself BCH is irrelevant, even after he himself has had BCH related discussion on his show all the time. He's just in this state of self-contradiction, right? It's
but a lot of people
amazing.
do not know what happens. They still live in the 2018 situation, and I think that also happens to him. There was an earlier tweet you shared of Luke, it was, or of another person, I don't remember, where exactly that was stated, and that applies to him too. It seems.
Yes, and so I asked him this question, right? Because how is he going to answer? It's a contradiction. There is no answer. If BCH is irrelevant, why are you, one, commenting about it on Twitter, and two, constantly having it on your own show? Nobody else controls what's on his show. It's him that decides what he wants to talk about on his show, and he brings up BCH all the time. So he replied, actually, which I guess was good, and he said, quote, thanks for listening, kid, end quote. And so I replied, quote, you're welcome. But that doesn't answer the question. You can't answer it. The fact is you're contradicting yourself. And I've not only highlighted it, but actually preempted it, end quote. So I think that really is just, and the likes just tell this story here. On his tweets, he got 1 like each with his 450,000 followers. And I got, 20 with my replies, right? Because that's the thing. Like, this is just pathetic. Isn't he in his, late 40s? Isn't he like nearly 50? His whole thing is going on Twitter and say, thanks for listening, kid. Like, he's trying to be condescending and dismissive, and like, there's not even a dunk. Thanks for listening. Yeah, I listen to your show. I care about Bitcoin. It's like that's not even an insult. He's kind of insulting himself if he's trying to trash talk his own audience, And then obviously but I just find it funny because he walked right into this, right? He can come in here with all this bluster, but he didn't watch the video, so he's screwed himself, because if he hasn't watched the video and he doesn't know what I've said, he's missing context, and he's going to step on a landmine exactly like he did, where he didn't expect me to have put a clip of him in the video, and then which he probably should have, because I tagged all those people because I put those clips in the video. But anyway, he obviously didn't figure that out. So he just stepped on a landmine saying it's irrelevant. And I was like, but I've got you talking about it in my own video. And then the whole being calling me a kid, what's he expect? This is like some schoolyard shit, which maybe works if I was also going to have some schoolyard back and forth with him.
But when
I'm not going to.
Yeah, but of course not. Yeah. You made your point really well. But when you're 40, he's not that going to agree with you, especially not because you're from the BCH in his eyes. The irrelevant side. So this is also, what you say, dismissive, but. If he ever changes his mind, he is welcome too.
Yes,
absolutely. Yeah. But Peter, if you hear this,
yeah, please. Like I said, I'm welcome to come discuss. And all these, these guys, they're kind of digging their own grave a little bit, because That's the whole trap of sunk cost fallacy and cognitive dissonance, is you just keep dismissing and being rude to the people who are trying to get through to you. That only makes it less likely that you're going to wake up. Like, the pain you have to experience goes higher and higher because you've put so much of your ego on, I was mean to all these idiots who didn't understand anything. But then when you realize they were right, the shift is just so much harder to make. Whereas if you'd just been like, I don't know, maybe you're right the whole time, you wouldn't have so much invested yourself in believing that all these other people were wrong, and much less that you'd been rude to them or were unable to go back and talk. Like, is Peter going to be really willing to come and say, you know, Jeremy, maybe the Bitcoin Cash podcast is actually the best podcast in Bitcoin? Of course not. Of course not. Especially not after he's tried this. But we've just got him dead to rights on the facts. And the Twitter is watching, Peter. That's really what it comes down to. Like, you can be a dismissive, petulant child, which is quite ironic that you're then projecting it onto me. But the truth is louder than anything, and I've got you in a contradiction here. So good luck retaining your audience. Like, somebody can listen to my show and your show, and over time, the truth is just going to win.
And a side note is that also on Twitter, people are living in their own bubbles a lot, because you follow people and you probably see only BTC Pro messages, and that's okay. Everyone is more his bubble, and then it's more what you say, the pain to think different or to get outside it is much bigger than it used to be. All those algorithms. So that is also a part of the fact, while you see it also with politics, left, right, and with other contradictions which are created or which do exist in society. And you see that coming back on Twitter. And, anyway, a good point you made, and Peter, if you're listening, if you mention something irrelevant and you're mentioning it all the time, it does not make sense a lot. So your BCH, will still improve, and we'll have a lot of innovation, and maybe BTC will also have that in 10 years' time when those 5 developers approve something. But the future we'll see what brings the future.
Yeah, well, we've got him dead to rights here, because there's 2 ways out of his contradiction, and neither of them is going to work. The first is he can say BCH is irrelevant, and he can stop talking about it. That's fine. If he just stops bringing it up on his show, then that's it. We don't have any beef. Nobody has to talk about BCH. But then how's he going to do that when it is relevant and it keeps coming up? And there's so many angles to people in the BTC community being like, what are we going to do about fees? Are we going to ossify? Blah, blah, blah. Everything just always comes back to the block size war, BCH, the big blockers, etc. So that's not feasible for him to not talk about it. And then secondly is to take an L and admit I was wrong. I mean, he's happy to take an L on ordinals and flip back and forth every week as to whether or not those are a good thing. But I think admitting that I'm a better podcast host than him, it's going to take a while. That's going to take a while. All right, so that was it. But I was already thrilled that I had preempted his, like, that's just like the ultimate dunk in itself, really, is that I knew what he was going to say before he even said it, because he's so predictable. And it was publicly published there, and it was only his own ignorance and not watching the video that made him walk into that trap. But I did even better than that. I did 2 out of 2. I didn't just get Peter McCormack. I also got David Hoffman. Oh man, I felt like this was some next level Twitter that I'd achieved here. So Peter had replied to.
Jeremy, just a question: is this really so important for you, or does
yes?
It really... Yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
What do you
because
think
maybe I'm a bit older than you, and I really have to laugh about this. But okay, continue. Sorry.
Well, that's the thing. Like, you know, you say like, I love this stuff. I love debates. I love human psychology. I love, catching people in contrast. contradictions and all that kind of stuff. And obviously I love Bitcoin and Bitcoin debate. So it's a perfect fusion for me. Like, how could I be out there arguing with all these guys and spending all this time on it if I didn't find it fun, right?
Absolutely. I cannot do it, but please continue. I'm curious about the next one.
So anyway, Peter had replied to Bitcoin Mechanic, and then we got David Hoffman, the Bankless co-host, who replied. So Peter McCormack said, I mean, is there any need to discuss BCH or engage with the losing side anymore? BCH is irrelevant. David Hoffman jumps in here and says, quote, not the losing side, the side that lost, end quote. So he was obviously trying to be his usual arrogant, dismissive self and go from, no, you guys are completely fucked and it's over and BCH is dead, that kind of vibe. And I was thrilled. I couldn't believe it when that came up in my notifications, because then I got to reply, end quote, open quotes, I am now 2 from 2. This is unbelievable. I have preemptively nailed Peter McCormack on downplaying BCH, and now I've preempted Trustless State David on arrogant dismissals. Timestamp is 1 hour, 23 and 3 seconds. Who's next? Scott Adams says, are you seeing this? Eric Wall, are you seeing this? End quote. So I loved it. He walked straight into it. I had the whole segment where I explained that his thing is to be dismissive and arrogant about the BCH community without hearing them out. It was linked right there. He didn't watch the video. He just came in with his salty little dunk, and I just nailed him and said, I already called you out for this before you even did it. That's like how known and obvious this pattern of behavior is. So I just wrecked him. I love that. Oh my goodness.
I see that he's got
David Hoffman.
I see that it's got the accelerationist tag there as well, and I'm gonna call bullshit on that, because I feel like an accelerationist would adopt upgrades and improvements to a technology that makes it more usable for the entire world over. Get your head out of your ass.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, then he wrote back again, and he said, quote, choose to do something more productive with the little time you have on this planet, end quote. And I replied, one day you will understand. And once again, absolutely titanic ratio. There got 14 and 12 likes, and he got none. So good luck to him with his, I don't know, he has like 237k followers or something. But whatever, because in any of these Twitter threads, you sort of the viewers, the voting public with the likes is some combination of your audience and their audience is how it works, right? So his audience was not turning out because he got wrecked, and anybody who is not him, trapped in his little crusade to, be insulting, can see that he's just being immature, and like there's not even any logic anywhere here. It's just coming from a place of BCH bad because he's been propagandized, which is what the whole video was about. So I was just like, how much better can I do? Calling out people ahead of time in the video that they respond to as predictably as the video explains. Like, this is it. It's all a hoax. I don't know what more you can do to demonstrate it.
It's like there definitely needs to be a moment of self-reflection, and like all these people, ask yourself, am I an NPC?
Yeah. An NPC would not ask themselves that, though. That's the catch. That's the catch. They never know. But anyway, so we'll see. Like, I don't need to be out stirring up grief with these guys all the time. Peter and David, they can, carry on with their shows. But I do know for a fact that word is getting out there, right? Like, they can ignore me on Twitter if they want and not engage, and the show will keep growing because we're telling the truth. And when you tell the truth, that speaks louder than anything, right? So that's going to keep growing. And if they want to write back and they want to have some childish Twitter arguments, you're fucking with the wrong person here, guys. Like, I'm not going to get involved. I've said this before on the show. There's two ways that you can win a debate, right? One is you can have the better arguments, you can be correct and closer to reality, and the other is you can be a better debater, right? Maybe you have the worst opinion, but you're better at finding some traps or some way of confusing the other person or whatever to win. But I've got both, so there's no way that they can ever win. They can just try and create little childish tantrums, which is what they've done, and the whole world can see that. So,
No,
doesn't matter.
also there was in my local municipality, there was like a course like politically active. There was also part of this. I participated just to know a little bit more how everything works. Course debating, and first, if you do not agree that there's a problem or something, or there is something, there's nothing to debate on. So then there's already not mutual agreement in this. And how can you further then look for now that has to be this or that, because the first stage is already not there? And in this case, that is happening between the BTC and BCH debate. So there's actually you cannot go further. You cannot.
You can't convince somebody of a solution to a problem they don't have. You're right.
They don't have. They don't believe in it. So for them, that does not exist. So that's also okay. But
Well, as time goes on, the thing is, just the BCH community is going to grow in clout and size as it already has been. And these guys are at some point are going to look in the mirror and think, fuck, like I really screwed up. I didn't have to be arrogant and condescending, but I was. And now I've been documented for that. So anyway, that was it. So that was overall, I would say, pretty good spread from our thread. And I got to say, finally, also, the listeners really enjoyed it. I had several people said, like, wow, this was a really great episode. And it is, rare that we do an episode with no guest where we put together all the content and we just do it like that, just Jet and I. And I was thrilled. I really like it. I'm glad that we could be constantly trying to set the bar a little higher in what we do on the show. So that was great. Thank you for everybody that watched that. And if you didn't, you can go back and listen to episode 119. If you want to get straight to the spicy stuff, just skip to 45 minutes in and start listening from there. It's also available on YouTube as a video called The BTC Hoax, so that we can now just throw that in there, lob that in as a little grenade anywhere that we need to wake up anybody coming up with any bullshit. Brilliant. All right. Message to the community. Paul, what does the BCH community need to hear?
I was just thinking about the threads. I was a bit distracted. When I will,
well, you can talk about the threads if you want.
2 hours, what they did. Now I'm going to onboard a lot of more merchants. Last week, maybe you saw a friend of mine, which for my school years, got the travel agency in Cusco. We also now can book Peru tours, realperuforyou.net. Just a shout out to him. We can pay with BCH, and you can get the discounts. And more merchants I will onboard. I will make more instructional videos, and I also want to organize meetups for the Dutch and the Belgium or the Dutch-speaking communities, and make Bitcoin Cash grow, and also making Spanish videos and English videos for the English and Spanish on YouTube. I won't make any Dutch videos, by the way, only Spanish and English. And
why not? Out of curiosity. Sorry. Why not? Why no Dutch videos?
I think because most Dutch people, they say that besides of the English speakers, the Dutch persons, they talk the most close of the English. So everyone understands English. We grow up with English series, and it is not that necessary to attract extra audience, in my opinion. But
fair enough.
But if based after the meetups, the people will appreciate that. Maybe I will make some. But I already making for every video I make them twice, so it does not make sense.
It's a good effort. It's a good effort. Have you considered? And I've considered this. We might see about doing AI to just translate. Do the video once and then just translate it into a bunch of languages. Any thoughts on doing that?
I have to investigate the technology in that. I could do that, but the personal view in that space is disappearing, and you got a more like, I believe, I don't know if you can elaborate on Jeremy, or computer voice who is saying the same information, or
Well,
does it also?
no, it can mimic your voice, because it can take a sample of you speaking, and then obviously it's not you actually speaking, but it's like a replicated version. We're looking into that, by the way, for the podcast. I haven't quite got it all under control, but I think it would be pretty. I mean, it does weird me out a little bit. I got to be honest, but it would be pretty cool, I guess, if we could have. We just record the Bitcoin Cash podcast, but then it gets distributed. Maybe we'll have a channel for each different one. BCH podcast, Spanish, Chinese, Arabic, Russian, Portuguese, like whatever, and have a bunch of them, and then listeners who prefer that can hear it. And I guess our guests would be also auto-translated into every language. I'm not exactly sure how that works.
Yeah. And you say message to the community, any fight, criticism, encouragement story, prominent who should be appreciated. I think a lot of the people of the community, I am in Bitcoin Cash, but not in the community for so long that I make myself public that I also attended BLISS. I want to have a shout out to all the people of the Bitcoin Cash community who did a lot of great work now and in the past, who made Bitcoin Cash big. I want to thank you, Jeremy, and Jet too, for the techno on the background. But think about prominence like John Leary and Cheap Lightning and Roger Ver, of course, and all other people from Cauldron, Sakayoshi Nakamori, and there are lots of more people I probably forget. Just keep doing it. I'm going to also contact me if you got something new. I can also make great contact. You promote stuff if you like that. It's not necessary, of course. And what else do I want to say is, for the people who are having a hardship about the price, who are a bit down because of the price, don't worry. There will be a V-shaped recovery. And if we're now at the bottom, or it will be a 3 weeks or 8 weeks, it does not matter, because in December the price will be, this is my prediction, you did not ask me for a prediction, is between $900 and $1,000. So,
okay, nice.
No financial advice, but this is what I believe. And I'm looking forward. I want to thank you, Jeremy, also to having me on this podcast. Thank you for the invitation already so quick. I'm honored to be here, and keep doing your great job, you and Chad, on the technical side. There's a lot of things behind the scenes you have to be done, what I'm not aware of, but great job, you guys. Thank you.
Yes, it's been amazing, and I love to see new people popping up who are passionate and who are putting out content in the BCH space. It certainly, is a team effort in that regards, and it all builds up, because then we can cross promote, we can collaborate, and then also the idea spreads around to more people, and it's just such a healthy sign for the community to be seeing more and more of these sort of dedicated channels. Ray is doing fantastic work, Bitcoin Jason, absolutely. Ryan Giffen, cryptocurrency theory. We've got the BCH Foundation, like we mentioned before, doing great videos. I love seeing all these different channels, and they're all growing, and that's just the sign that we're winning. The message is getting out there, so it's amazing to see. Okay, I got one other announcement. I'll be playing in a Fifth of Gaming Meeting of the Five Guild tournament on this Saturday. It's going to be Magic the Gathering 1v1 double elim tournament, traditional standard, 7 p.m. EST on the 13th of June, Saturday. So there's $100 in prizes as of now, but it will go up. I think it might be $5 or $10 in BCH to enter. I couldn't see that on the site, but I'm pretty sure it is. It's one of the best projects in BCH right now, a Fifth of Gaming. I've shielded on this channel a bunch because I truly believe it's absolutely amazing. David does fantastic work with it. So if you want to come play some Magic the Gathering, Or if you don't and you want to just lose some BCH to make some other Magic the Gathering people think that Bitcoin Cash is the best thing in the world, if you want to know how can I spread some adoption, just come and lose some money to these guys who like Magic the Gathering. And then they'll be like, wait, Bitcoin Cash is pretty freaking popping off. And it's also just a cool experience to try the app and use it and all that. So yeah, if you want to come play Magic against me, it'll be on Saturday. So look into that at fifthofgaming.com. Meeting of the 5 Guild. You'll see it there on the event list. Right, supporter appreciation. Thank you to our donators, as always, our patrons, Ricky and HP, our sponsors, General Protocols, check out bchbull.com, and our Flipstarter contributors, of which you could also join this list at BCH Podcast Flipstarter.cash by donating at least half a BCH. But our existing contributors, Majamali, Marcelo, Molecular, Erdogan Talk, Emergent Reasons, Peter McCormack, after getting roasted on Twitter, I guess he felt he needed to chip in some stats. Brian Canacci, and yeah, beer, and you. So go get involved in that. The start guide, FAQs, and links are at bitcoincashpodcast.com. And if you're new, check out episode 85, download Selene Wallet. Callisti told me that the new release will be dropping this week. He was busy with 4th of July because he's in the freest country in the world this week. And anyway, that will be coming out this week. So look out for that if you're a Selene Wallet user. Final shout outs for the show. I know you already did some, Paul, but anything else you want to do to sign off?
Yes, shout out to Ray, of course. I did last week a podcast with also great advices also to make better content. So Ray uses Bitcoin Cash. Big shout out to him. I forgot to say him a moment ago.
Yeah, he does fantastic work. Jet, any thoughts?
No shout outs for me this week. And
my shout out goes to anybody in the BTC community that is able to follow the example of Jay Thoreau or Nopara73 and engage properly with the show and just genuinely, because it's a lot of hard work trying to build those bridges and, break down some of those walls and all the salt and, back and forth, childish behavior in many cases, on both sides. I'm not saying it's, exclusively BTC side, but it takes a lot of hard work to get that done. And it's very validating when through the how many dismissals and insults you get, a couple of people can kind of see what's what and engage well with the show. So thank you very much for doing that. If you're listening to this show now that you listen to that show as well, welcome aboard, and it's great. And we just win, one by one in being able to have a conversation. The end goal is to replace fiat. We're doing it our way. You're doing it your way. If our way works out better, then that's better for everyone. And if your way works out better, well, you'll be able to prove it to us by having a ton of viral adoption. And eventually we won't have any option but to join up. So it's all in service of destroying fiat. All right, cool. That'll do it from me. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Until next time.